So I do like a lot of your rhetoric, a lot about what you say about how the Democrats don't actually stand for truth and we need to actually tell the truth and be bold and all that. But I've been following you for probably the past few years since you ran for president.
Yeah.
And every time something big happens, I haven't seen you take a strong stand
Can you give me an
against it.
example?
Absolutely. So first of all, in 2019, you talked a lot about how we should never have forced vaccinations. That was something
No, that's not what I said. No. I said I spoke up against mandates.
Correct. That's what I'm saying. Forced vaccinations.
I just said that.
I didn't hear you say anything strong when it was recommended that when Joe Biden was floating the idea of a nationwide vaccine passport. I didn't hear you come out strongly against that at the time. Also, you talk about the military-industrial complex and how we spend so much more money than all these other countries. When Joe Biden finally pulled us out of Afghanistan, he should have done it when Trump had set it up early back in May instead of waiting until September. But you were upset that we're pulling troops out. And yes,
Thank you for giving me a chance to speak.
Okay.
Well, on the mandate, because I honestly believe COVID is different. And so I was kind of agnostic on that. And I felt there were situations, we didn't have a federal mandate. So my belief on not wanting a federal mandate was no different than Fauci. So I had already made it clear that I didn't want any federal mandate. Now, in terms of Afghanistan, please let me be very clear. And I hope that you will go to my website, and I hope that you will see the things that I wrote about Afghanistan. So let me make it very clear. I did several podcasts about this at the time. The last 20 years in Afghanistan, and absolutely I weighed in on this, and I would be glad to send you the podcast, etc. The last 20, I do not disagree with the fact we went into Afghanistan, but the last 20 years were horrifying. And we did so little to actually support a democratic government in Afghanistan that in the final analysis, people hated the U.S. just a little bit less than they hated the Taliban, which is why the whole thing fell within 10 days. I did plenty of criticism of that. When the president finally pulled out, I know a lot of people on the left love to say, oh, well, there was no easy way to do it. There sure as hell was a better way to do it. And I'll tell you that better way to do it was prioritizing those women. They didn't even try. They didn't even try to take those women who had worked so hard to help other women during the Taliban, during the time that we were there, and who would be top on the list of the Taliban to target. We didn't even try to help those women. And I know that people come back at me, oh, she comes out with the woman card. And I say, to hell with that, we come out with the woman card. So I make no apologies for the fact that I apologize, that I criticize the way we left Afghanistan.
Okay, so to clarify, what you're upset about Afghanistan is that we didn't correctly set up a government while we were there.
No, it was not our job to correctly set up a government. But the point is, we were not supporting. This is an example of the egregious malfeasance of the military-industrial complex, because they saw our staying in Afghanistan as just a cash cow for the military-industrial complex. They were not actually doing what it would take. Americans were okay with supporting a situation, and I was one of the American women who, even before 9/11, had become very aware of the Taliban and what the Taliban was doing to women. Okay? So during that time that America was there, it's not about setting up a government. They had a government, but we were not actually using our power to actually promote a situation where they would be able to fight, to keep the Taliban at bay, including the fact that Afghan fighters are known throughout the world historically to be among the best fighters in the world. But what we were doing is just giving them American equipment to be run by, it's kind of like when we talk about how kids learn in school. So instead of saying to the Afghan people, how can we best support you in being able to handle this by yourself, we just wanted to quote unquote support them by buying arms from Raytheon, Northrop Grumman, and Boeing that would be in service to our military establishment, our military industrial complex, rather than in real service to Afghanistan. And I said that plenty. And what I find is I will make one tweet and people say, oh, that's our policy. And one tweet, well, no, I said a whole lot more than that. And if I can have, in fact, I don't have my computer here, but if I can have your email, I'll be glad to. I did several podcasts about this, wrote several articles about this on my Substack, and I will be glad for you to see it. I feel I had a very nuanced policy and position on Afghanistan, which I stand by to this day. Anybody else?